Okay, my friends, here it is. The video that is going to show you how to double or triple your food production in your garden this year. So I'm going to say some things about it, and then I'm going to take you out into the garden and show you exactly what I'm talking about with clear-cut examples of how to do this. Now, a lot of people, and I know because I'm in interaction with thousands of people now, they plant their garden and that's it. So they plant the plants and then they harvest some things and they weed and they say, okay, yeah, I got a few tomatoes, I got a few this or that. We made a couple batches of salsa here and there, yeah. Okay, and that's fine if that's all that you're interested in. But if you want to have a top shelf garden that is pumping out food and flowers and produce and pollinators are coming to it and it's just exploding with life and vitality and the food has minerals and all the good stuff to make you thriving, then in that case you have to do it with some planning. You have to be the grower, not just a gardener, but a grower. You have to understand the process. And so I'm going to take you out into the garden and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, my friends, first thing we got to do is we got to go out and look at the state of the garden. And so when we do that, we can see this bed of arugula that we've been eating on for about 6 weeks now. It is finally, the inevitable has happened and it is starting to bolt. So it's getting really spicy and it's going to flower. It's getting really hot, almost like a mustard. And so we don't want to just nurse this along. So we're going to plan ahead. And about a week ago, we planted more arugula that is just getting started. And in about another week to 2 weeks, we're going to start eating on that stuff until it bolts. And then here, look at this mess. What appears to be a mess actually isn't. The celery here is just getting started. And so we're going to leave that. But these greens have gone to bolt. So when your greens start to do this, guys, don't try to nurse them along. Don't try to pick off the flowering head, the komatsuna, the mustard greens, all that stuff. Just let it happen because there's no stopping it. There's no reversing it. So I'll show you what to do in a moment. But first, look at this garlic, guys. We had a wonderful harvest of garlic just a few days ago. You guys sent us a bunch of different varieties, so we're really excited to be trying these. So far, the Leningrad I like the best. Nice and big and very flavorful. So here's the secret, guys. Plant bush green beans after your garlic because then you're going to plant, and once the bush green beans are done, you're going to plant garlic again in the fall, and the bush green beans are going to supercharge the soil in a way that I will show you here shortly with the peas. Now let's move on to the next bed that we're just going to leave because these red cabbage, purple cabbage is doing really well. No pest pressure, not ready to harvest yet. But these giant patty pan squash, you see, we planted this one, and then about 2 weeks later, we planted the other one. So you're timing everything. That's the key. Now, here's what I really want to show you is the peas, guys. So we had a wonderful crop of peas, but it got so hot in the mid 90s, bone dry for several weeks. And so the peas are done. The peas have gotten really starchy and fibrous, and you can see the bottoms of them have started to die. So the peas do not like the heat. So instead of just having these starchy little gross peas, we're going to do something that I'll show you in a moment. But here is the Maduras melons just getting started. Here is the honey nut squash that is just starting to climb this cattle panel trellis. Everything's starting to climb. It's going to get crazy here shortly. Now, here are some peas that are getting hammered by the sparrows. Look at all that. That is all sparrow damage. They just sit there on the fence and mow down. They're also eating these cucumber leaves, but once I pull these peas, they'll stop doing that because they won't come around. So I planted these cucumbers just about 3 weeks ago, and they're just starting. But once they get going here in another couple weeks, they're going to cover this whole cattle panel. But here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to harvest these peas. We're going to cut the whole plant down. We're just going to say, okay, done with it. We got to get new stuff in there. And so we're going to leave the roots in the ground for a reason I will show you here shortly. But the pea material is high in all kinds of good nutrients for the soil, so we're going to compost all of this. It makes a wonderfully rich compost. We're going to add it on top of a layer of a brown, and then we're going to let it slow digest. And you'll see the compost here in just a moment. It's a really good, what it produces is good. So then we're just going to rake back the mulch and pull any weeds that are on there. We don't need to add any more fertility or anything, but we want to leave those pea roots in the ground because look, you see here we pulled one out so I can show you, and every one of those little sacs, that is essentially a sac of nitrogen because the legume, the pea plant, develops a symbiotic relationship with the rhizobia, a certain type of bacteria that pulls nitrogen out of the air and feeds it to the plant. It's incredible. So you see here this chunk of soil, you see that big old fat pocket of nitrogen sacs. We want to leave all that into the soil so that it will feed these, yes, cucumbers. I know I say rarely to start up cucumbers because they won't do as well, but if you do start them, here's how you want to do it. See, these are just 2 weeks old. You see how they just started to show roots out the bottom? You don't want them all dangling a bunch of roots and stuff. You want it to be just starting to show roots out the bottom. So we're going to space these out where the peas were about every 2 feet. And we might even thin a little bit more, but that'll be all right for now. And then we're going to go get us some of that good slow compost. Yes, super rich in vitamins and minerals, everything that the plants need. And look out soon for the hot compost video. I'll show you guys how to make compost in 21 days or so. So then here is how you transplant things like cucumbers and melons and squash if you have to transplant them. You put your fingers over them like that so that they're very gently caressed. And then you gently let them out of the thing. You see how there's not a bunch of roots wrapped around the bottom, so it's not root bound. This is very important. Now, if you want to get similar harvest to what you would get with direct sowing, you have to plant them this delicately because cucurbitas don't like disturbed roots. You see how gingerly I'm planting these things? Then we're going to add some compost straight up to the hole like that. These will do pretty much as good as direct sown plants. But we've got Shiva, the destroyer here, and so we have to put these cages around it so that her and the other alley cats, the other neighborhood cats, don't roll around and crush the plants. And it also helps to keep slugs away. They don't like crawling over the metal. And so then we're going to water these things in. And when we water it like this, that's essentially like an instant compost extract. And guys, these things are going to start doubling in size like every day. It's just going to grow crazy here because they've got all that good stuff. It's nice and hot. And so we have very little downtime. You see how little downtime we've had in here? Now, look at these cucumbers that we planted just about 3 weeks ago. They're just starting to get going. And so here, they're going to start yielding any time now. And so in about 3 weeks, when the other ones we just planted start getting going, these will sort of be, pittering out a bit. So that's how we do it. We stagger it. You want to stagger the plantings of stuff like that. As opposed to tomatoes, which tomatoes, basil, peppers here are doing wonderful, but we just have these 4 plants and they're going to produce boatloads. So back to the arugula bed here, and we are going to remove this stuff, guys. Don't just sit there and nurse along this crop that's going to bolt. You're never going to eat it. Don't worry about it. Just pull it and put something else in there. That's the key. When we pull it, we want to leave as much of the soil as possible because we're going to hot compost this stuff, guys. I'm going to show you how to hot compost with this kind of material. So you want to pull that stuff out of the ground, and it's Jurassic. Yeah, absolutely. But it's not doing us any good at the moment. So we're going to get this stuff out of there. And yes, we got to use a machete for this thing because these mustard greens are so thriving and loving life that we got to cut them out. We're going to leave the roots in there, but then we're going to immediately replant in this bed. We're going to replant beets and basil right here because they're fast growing greens. And then we'll still get a fall planting after those are done. But right here, we're going to plant Yod Fa, which is a very heat tolerant Asian green, almost like a broccolini kind of thing. But first, we're going to add several aerated compost teas full strength to the soil to supercharge. Here you go, guys. Take a screenshot of my favorite rotational crops. So there you go, my friends. It is all about maximizing that real estate that you have available. Get them plants in there. If you've got some sick and dying plants, take them out. Put in the fresh ones. Always have some available. That's the key. Always have plants ready to go in the ground all summer long. If something fails, have something else ready to go in the ground. That's how we do it. Especially, it's only June, July. We've got plenty of time. So if you feel like you gained something from the video, give it a thumbs up and share the video with anyone that needs this knowledge. And I will see you right here every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern time for the live Q&A.